Okay, I'm live and I am talking. Today we're discussing Dinesh D'Souza, who is essentially a blast from the past, politically speaking, because for the last let's see, what is it now? To 2021, last 14 years, about 2007 when I first heard of this loser, and so today he's going to be discussed in relation to Afghanistan, and I've often said in the last week or so, with the way people are responding to the Joe Biden pullout out of Afghanistan, that if anyone from George W. Bush to Mark Levin to Liz Cheney to Ben Shapiro, um, someone like Don Bolton or Dinesh D'Souza all think it is bad for the United States to pull out of Afghanistan. It proves that pulling out of Afghanistan is in fact the right thing to do. Right, which is in fact the right thing to do. Joe Biden is not in the wrong. Joe Biden is actually doing something that's what a Democrat should be doing as president, and that is be on the side of peace and non-aggression. And this is like the biggest act of bravery I've seen from a president, regardless of political party, since the days of Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter gets a bad rap by a lot of people, and he's the butt of jokes. But Jimmy Carter was a better man than people gave him credit for at the time. He was not the best president we ever had, but he was a better president than people gave him credit for. And I've mentioned that before. Um, Basically pressuring Egypt and Israel to signing a peace treaty, which exists to this day. It's certainly not anything to besmirch or downplay the fact that two countries with a warlike mentality, pretty damn equal, decided to be at peace with each other is certainly a step in the correct direction. I am not a partisan hack. Um, as you know, as horrible as Donald Trump was in his presidency, I do commend him for his handling of North Korea. So the things that a president do, regardless of the political party, no matter how much I like somebody or dislike somebody, when they do something positive, I'm going to I'm going to commend them for doing something that's positive. So let's talk about Afghanistan for a moment. For the past 20 years, we've been in Afghanistan following the 9/11 attacks. It was the response to 9/11. And here's the thing. Um, we can have a debate on how appropriate it was to go into Afghanistan. It, you know, Going there at that time as a response to the 9/11 attacks. I would argue that I have no issue with either. Believe it or not, I have no issue with either the warmongering neocons or peace activists when it comes to Afghanistan, as far as the response at that time. Meaning that I could understand, the argument can be made. I mean, but here's I want to say this: once Osama bin Laden was captured, and he was captured in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan, there was no reason why after 2011 we should have stayed there in Afghanistan. I would have argued that we needed to leave Afghanistan prior, you know. But anyway, the Iraq War was never, ever, ever justified. Trying to start a war with Iran is never, and ever, never justified. Trying to start a war in Syria is never, never, never justified. And remaining in Afghanistan in the year 2021 is nowhere even close to being justified. I want to get that started. And this shit isn't even partisan in regard to the positions of Afghanistan today. Everyone from former Congressman Ron Paul on the right and Tulsi Gabbard on the left, and to say they both are on the same page when it comes to Afghanistan. Pull out. We're talking about online personalities on the right, like Jack Hunter, and the amazing atheists on the left, all of them says pull out of Afghanistan. So I'm a grown up. I don't believe in making things partisan when there's no necessity to. I mean, when one side is wrong, I will call them out. If people on my side is wrong, would tend to be wrong, then I'll call them out on my side. I'm not a tribalist as a general rule. I mean, actually, I am, but I also have a free thinking side and a nuance that I can decipher. And and in other words, I'm not a brainless hack at the end of the day. Now, Dinesh D'Souza, uh, Dinesh D'Souza, he found a way to blame Barack Obama for the crisis in Afghanistan. So I'm going to let you listen to what he has to say, and I will comment. I will comment about his words because he managed to blame Barack Obama for this. Hold tight.
There was a pastor many years ago who said that whenever something truly evil happens in the world, look carefully, Satan's fingerprints are all over it. And there's a kind of a political equivalent to that. Whenever something really bad happens for the United States, even domestically or internationally, Obama's fingerprints are usually all over it. And that is the case here, even with the return of the Taliban, believe it or not. Now, you might remember several years ago, 2014, I believe it was, that Obama arranged the Bergdahl trade. Think of it. One military deserter, Bo Bergdahl, is returned in exchange for a group, I believe 5 seasoned Taliban commanders, one of whom was at Gitmo. Listen to Obama talking about this.
Taliban, who were being held in Guantanamo, was conditioned on the Qataris keeping eyes on them and creating a structure in which we can monitor their activities. We will be keeping eyes on them.
Now, Obama carefully hedges his remarks, and he says, these 5 Taliban commanders are not going to be sent back to Afghanistan. They're going to Qatar, where we will be keeping an eye on them. Of course, no eye was ever kept on them. Qatar is playing a dirty double game. They work hand in hand with Iran. They work hand in hand with the Taliban. In fact, the Taliban leadership has been sitting in Qatar and is returning from Qatar to take full power in Kabul. Now, one of these 5 guys is a guy named Khairullah Karikwa. And this guy, very seasoned battlefield commander, very bad guy, surfaced recently when he appeared with a group of Taliban to meet Biden's envoy to Afghanistan, a guy named Zalmay Khalilzad. So Zalmay Khalilzad is representing America, and here on the other side of the table is a Taliban guy who happened to be one of the exact 5 guys that supposedly Obama sent back, but sent back in a manner that he would be under constant supervision, not causing any trouble whatsoever, except he happens to be one of the key guys leading the assault on Kabul. Now, this guy was also on television recently, the same guy, the Gitmo release guy, talking about how he was in Gitmo and how America has, quote, been oppressing our people for 20 years. He is believed by many to be the mastermind of regime change in Afghanistan. So think about the significance of this. We've got a guy in our own captivity. We let him go. And this is part, by the way, of a Gitmo catch and release plan. He's not the only guy. Just recently, Biden released a prisoner, the accused terrorist Abdul Latif Nasser. And there's a whole bunch of other prisoners, by the way, with left-wing civil rights attorneys representing them, petitioning for all them to be released on civil rights trial. They haven't really had a proper trial. They haven't been convicted by a jury. So the bottom line of it is that these thugs, these Islamic radicals are getting out. And this is just a conspicuous example of a guy who gets out and essentially spearheads the final assault that has led to the fall of Kabul, the humiliation of America. And I think Obama somewhere is sitting back, smiling and thinking, wow, you know, I was able to, even out of power, looking back on all the things I did, look at the mortal blows I've been able to inflict on my own country.
Whew. So much shit to be said. Now, let me tell you about Dinesh D'Souza. Those who are not familiar, I think most people who watch this program will be kind of familiar with him, but to those who are not familiar, Dinesh D'Souza is a revisionist historian. He is a neoconservative when it comes to foreign policy. He's a movement conservative. He's a member of the Christian right. Um, he's definitely a conspiracy theorist. Now, as far as I said, neoconservative on foreign policy, he favors the continuation of the Bush-Cheney foreign policy, the Bush-Cheney doctrine, perpetual war, crackdown on civil liberties, where we're all being monitored by our U.S. government. He favors torture in Guantanamo Bay. And as I said, I mean, his foreign policy is exactly the kind of failure that necessitates why we need to pull out of Afghanistan. Insanity is said to be doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. You know, the song by The Who, Won't Get Fooled Again, the part of the song says, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Well, George W. Bush happened. Then Barack Obama happened. Then Donald Trump happened. And in many areas, Joe Biden continues to keep that aspect of the foreign policy. But when it comes to the pull out of Afghanistan, I'm going to say that Joe Biden's correct this time. He's correct. So the thing about it is, let me talk to you for a moment about the conspiracy theories of this guy, Dinesh D'Souza. He's a birther. He's one of those people that claim that a Barack Obama was born in Kenya, and he's a secret Muslim trying to destroy Western civilization. And I'm going to get back to this so-called destruction of Western civilization he thinks that Barack Obama is committing. You probably know where I stand when it comes to Bill and Hillary Clinton. As far as I'm concerned, I consider Bill and Hillary Clinton right-wing. But someone like Dinesh D'Souza thinks Bill and Hillary Clinton are just basically, Bill and Hillary Clinton are basically Bernie Sanders. They're basically Elizabeth Warren. They're basically AOC. They're basically the squad. There's no nuance, no difference. They're all the same. The Democrats are the socialists. That's Dinesh D'Souza, which, he should be laughed at. Now, he claimed that the Clintons are involved with the murders of various people over the years. Now, he's half correct. I mean, Bill and Hillary Clinton did not murder so-called political opponents here in the United States. But as the U.S. Senator, Hillary Clinton did vote for the Bush war against Iraq. So that makes her as complicit as George W. Bush when it comes to war crimes. It makes Joe Biden just as guilty. It makes, as a George, so they can join with George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and Condoleezza Rice and Don Bolton and Paul Wolfowitz and all the other people involved with the carnage and bloodbath that they themselves had committed in terms of the Bush Cheney doctrine. So I'm not being a partisan hack here. But let's go on further. He's also part of perpetuate this conspiracy theories about George Soros. And I want to tell y'all about George Soros. I'm a leftist. I don't like George Soros. He's not a socialist or this left-wing person. The man is a corporatist himself. Now he's socially liberal, perhaps, but that being pro LGBTQ, being tolerant on Muslims, being tolerant on the whole idea of liberal immigration policies or things like that, that's not inherently left wing or right wing. But the thing about it is that George Soros had a beef to pick with certain aspects of the American right in the early 2000s. So, um, just that's what it came down to. So he's invented conspiracy theories like, well, I'm not going to say the conspiracy theories totally untrue. He talked about the collaboration of George Soros and the Nazis. He was a young kid, George Soros, in Hungary, worked for what was called a Jewish Council, and was trying to find Jews to give toward the Nazis to put them in the camps. Now did this against his will as a young kid, just as John Ritzinger, who became Benedict XVI, was forced to join Hitler's youth in Germany in the 1930s, and he was a corporal in the German army, deserted the German army. But some people want to criticize Pope Benedict XVI for being a Nazi collaborator, and that's no more true. And actually, it's going to be less true in Pope Benedict XVI case than it would be with George Soros. George Soros has guilt, the world of guilt on his shoulder for being forced to do this when as a kid. And I think that might have propagated his or inspired him to do socially liberal causes to the point of trying to compensate for his crimes in the past. So, I do not believe that George Soros is some kind of self-hating Jew, and I think that the fixation on George Soros, in a way, hints a bit of anti-Semitism. So that's where I stand. The bomb threats against prominent Democrats in 2018 that got busted, he claims that was a setup. So, Dinesh D'Souza is a horrible individual. In 2014, he was prosecuted for illegal campaign donations, one beyond its limits, to a lady named Wendy Long, who ran for the U.S. Senate in 2012 in New York State, where Kristen Gillibrand became the U.S. senator, or the victor in that race in the year 2012. So this is what we're talking about as far as Dinesh D'Souza. Now, Dinesh D'Souza is the author of The Enemy at Home, The Cultural Left and Its Responsibility for 9/11. The premise of that book basically is this: that the Western left, with their secular state throughout the entire West, they're live and let live, women's equality, the idea of LGBTQ people being human beings deserving of equal rights under the law, and people doing whatever they want to do in secular life, um, and not being basically controlled socially by a bunch of pearl collecting Bible thumpers. That offends Dinesh D'Souza. He made the claim that has offended those in the Muslim world, which caused 9/11, and that maybe the conservatives in the West should link up with radical fundamentalists within the Islamic world and declare a mutual cultural war on the Western left. That is synonymous. I mean, that to me, that's almost treasonous. And people who would defend Dinesh D'Souza are the same kind of people who thought that Ward Churchill from the University of Colorado should have been fired for making 9/11 remarks about how the United States had it coming to them. And that's been taken largely out of context about blowback. And Ron Paul has talked about blowback too. And and the thing about it is that they don't, when it comes to freedom of speech, a lot of these folks on the right, they don't really care about freedom of speech. So, as far as I'm concerned, as I said, people like John Hagee and people like Pat Robertson and Brian Fisher and all these other folks that, along with Dinesh D'Souza, to me, they are the American Telegram, as far as I'm concerned. And so that's where I stand, and I make no apologies because of it. On Twitter, on Twitter, he also recently claimed that Barack Obama was a grown-up Trayvon Martin in relations to what happened with with George Zimmerman down in Florida. But here's the thing: in 2012, he made a film about Obama called 2016's Obama's America, and claimed that Obama is as anti-Western. Well, Dinesh D'Souza with his book in 2007 proves that he's more anti-Western than Barack Obama. Or what makes Barack Obama is not the fact that of his past with Kenyan relatives and being a Muslim in his early life. Barack Obama is not all that unusual as far as a politician in America. He was born in Hawaii. He's born in Hawaii. He's a secular person, and he's basically a corporate centrist who's socially liberal, and he's not really all that all that different from the average American politician. To me, Barack Obama is the average American politician. Too much so, in fact. Um, with regard to this film that he did, Jack Hunter, who I mentioned earlier, called D'Souza out and saying people like D'Souza has no ideas, and so they don't attack Obama on things that are not true, as opposed to attacking him on policy. And Jack Hunter is a paleo conservative, and he never ever attacked Barack Obama on the silly bullshit of him being born in another country and being a secret Muslim trying to destroy Western civilization. When it comes to conservative critics of Obama or conservative critics against the left, but in relation to Obama, um, I have more respect for someone like Jack Hunter, who will criticize Obama on policy than to go with the conspiracy theories. Now, Dinesh D'Souza, I have no respect for him at all, not one bit. So now with the Afghanistan crisis going on, he wants to be partisan, and he wants to keep what not works in the works. He wants to keep what's not been working well as official policy, and he wants to keep the occupation of Afghanistan alive. He wants to, he longs for that. Now, I said this yesterday, and I really do believe this. Do I think that Barack Obama wanted to pull out of Afghanistan? I sure did. I think he wanted to pull out. But one thing about Obama, I think he also been so attacked. And I'm not a fan of Obama. Looking throughout his 8 years, I'm not an apologist for Obama, but I will defend him when he needs defending. And I think that Barack Obama feared of being called, a supporter of Middle Eastern terrorism. He's feared of people really believing that he was born in another country when he's just an average American politician, that he decided to remain in Afghanistan. I think he was just too much of a pussy to get out of Afghanistan. That's basically what it came down to. Now, with regard to Donald Trump, do I think that Donald Trump wanted to remain in Afghanistan? I actually think he also wanted to pull out of Afghanistan. But also, he cut himself before the neocons who kept his hands tied. So, whatever little good Trump wanted to provide in foreign policy, the neocons were the ones trying to put a stop to it. Now, Joe Biden has done something wonderful as far as I'm concerned, and that was to pull out of Afghanistan eventually. So once we pull out, think of all the trillions we're going to be saving and all the American lives that we're going to be saving. And here's the thing. I would like to see those trillions be put into programs here in the United States, like healthcare, for more healthcare for people, or free college, or jump-starting the Green New Deal, jobs guarantee. Even if the money goes into the national debt, as far as trying to pay back the national debt, that is much better than one more American life being destroyed in this war in Afghanistan. Not only is it bad for that individual who's in harm's way in Afghanistan, it's bad for that combatant's family, friends, loved ones who are worried about that combatant serving in Afghanistan. Bring them home safely. It's the right thing to do. And the fact that Dinesh D'Souza is opposed to leaving Afghanistan makes leaving Afghanistan quite the right wing to quite the right thing to do. I'm getting tongue twisted today. It is the correct thing to do. So, Dinesh D'Souza, shove it up your ass, as far as I'm concerned, with your commentary. You're a piece of shit, and you're wrong. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time. Also, feel free to share the content of this channel. Hit that notification bell. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'm American Social Democracy. Peace, which means a pull out of Afghanistan, and class struggle, so we can have economic and social justice in our time.